Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together.
All right, guys, welcome to episode number 79. Talking about some early season setbacks.
Already?
Yep, already.
Didn't take long.
Yeah, didn't take long. We went through the whole setup of, our race schedule, and then we made our goals.
Yeah.
And then now
Had a plan.
we had a plan. And so, what's that saying? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Best laid plans of mice and men, all that stuff. Everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face.
I got punched in the face. Yeah.
So did I. So I don't know if you guys can hear it, but me and Danny just both picked up some kind of sickness that was rolling its way through Kansas City here.
I blame the pool.
Yeah, I blame the pool too. There's some chemical offsets and stuff. It was not good. I blame the kids that I coach.
There
stuff.
you go.
They're
It's always good. If you when in doubt, blame the kids.
Yeah.
Don't take any accountability. Just blame the kids.
It wasn't me. I did everything right.
No, but it's been kind of wild. I mean, like you said, we went through the whole thing, got our plans laid out. Actually, I've been 4.5, 5 weeks into my plan, and bam. So
I was doing a good 4-week block there. I was feeling good. I was hitting some workouts. I was starting to feel like everything was coming together, and then boom, sickness. So
that's how it goes.
Again, it's we're not medical professionals, so take everything that we say with a grain of salt. This is just kind of what's worked for me and what's worked for Danny, and it may work for you. It may not. You may have a different way of dealing with sickness and setbacks and stuff. So. If you do, definitely let us know in the comments for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own way to deal with this stuff. And it all depends on how long you're wiped out for. But I think you'd mentioned, we were talking the other day, and you mentioned that the timing of this worked out for you okay because it was on a rest week anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
that's kind of like the optimal time to get sick.
If you're going to get sick.
If you're going to get sick right at the end of, if you're doing like a 3-on, 1-off type of block, then you're doing right at the end of that third week, you're just not feeling so well, and then you can just kind of take that rest week off kind of, and then you're not really too bad.
Sure. Yeah. And I started getting it. It was about the middle of my rest week, which is okay. I mean, not terrible. Yeah. And then I started to get better, which was nice. I was like, I think it's only gonna be like a 3-day deal. I thought, started having the sinus stuff, and it was, I started to clear up, I want to say last Saturday. So like Wednesday to Saturday, I started clearing up Saturday, and I was like, that's good. The zinc and all that stuff that I was taking helped. I thought I was going to beat it. Saturday night, before I went to bed, my sinuses just started flaring up, and then I couldn't breathe. And then Sunday, I was freaking just cooked. And then this week, so this, get to Monday, it's a rest day, but Tuesday is supposed to be a fitness week, a fitness test week. And I'm like, VO2 max workout, FTP test, anaerobic test. And I'm like, good gracious, I'm not doing any freaking tests this week. Happening. Yeah, so it kind of caught me at a not so good time. It's really frustrating because, all of us that do this training, we think that our fitness is going to evaporate in a week, and
dude, you just start looking at it and just going, well, my whole season's wrecked.
I know, it's December.
It's over. Might as well phone it in. See if I can get some money back on some of the races I registered for.
Anybody want my Unbound injury?
Yeah, exactly. Just start. Anybody want a new, a lightly used bike?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of, no.
Yeah. No, exactly. But no. So. Usually when I feel, and it may be different for you, Danny, but when I feel sick, what is the first thing you do? For me, it's like when I feel sick, I just kind of basically stop everything. I don't do any training, and I just kind of really focus on sleeping and making sure I'm getting good quality sleep. Yeah. That's the first thing I do. What is one of the first things that you do? Yeah,
like you said, not doctors here, and I'd love to know if people that are more medically trained than I am have a different opinion. But the way I've kind of done this through trial and error over the years, and the way I typically do it, first thing I do if I start to feel sick, I am hammering the zinc, the vitamin C, the vitamin D, all of it, and I am boosting that as much as I can. I think zinc I'll go up to up to 50 milligrams a day if I can. And then I'll also take like the chew tablets or whatever, and sometimes even like the non-zinc nasal sprays that'll help, shorten the duration of the cold. I'm into all the witchcraft. I mean, I'll take elderberry. I'll be cooking stuff up. I'll drink all the teas in the world, like all of it.
Puts his crystals out to
everything,
charge,
everything.
all that stuff.
You name it. I don't care. I'll try it all.
Yeah.
But I don't like to take a lot of medicine. I try not to take decongestants if I can help it. Nothing wrong with them. They're great when you need them, but it's just one of those things. I try not to take them if I can help it. And, as far as like the activity level though, it's one of those things like, the old saying is like, if it's above the neck, you're good. Below the neck, back it off. Right.
Yep.
And for me, it's like, if it's above the neck, even though, you can still go, I like to still at a minimum, if I feel like it, I might push like a tempo. I would cancel all my high intensity rides. I would not cancel. I shouldn't say that. I would scrap that plan and I would just go straight to a endurance level, might go into tempo, but primarily just going to do a base ride and just keep it really light, because I think there's something to like still staying active, get your body temperature up. I think it helps your immune system. Your immune system allegedly gets a little bit of a boost after you do a workout, because the body temperature raises and your blood flow is, at the highest rate. So I do think it's a good idea to keep, at least, again, above the neck, if that's where all the symptoms are. Go ahead and do the endurance rides. And even with a light cough, as long as it's not productive, as long as you're not like hacking up a lung constantly, I think it's still good. So
yeah, I do the same thing. I tend to make all my workouts very, very easy, and usually cut them shorter. Like if it's like a 2-hour ride, I'll do like an hour. And usually I feel a lot better after I've done just a little bit of work and just kind of warmed up. Everything just kind of gets flowing, and the post nasal drip and stuff like that just kind of happens. And so and I'm with you too. If I feel it in my lungs, I pretty much just don't do any kind of activity unless I have to. And then if it's in my head and stuff, I just, just keep everything super, super low intensity.
When we were dealing with the whole COVID thing, in 2021, it was late 2020, early 2021 for me. That was like the first time I really got it, and I got it bad. It was in my lungs pretty bad. Like my blood oxygen was in the low to mid 80s. When I finally got, because I'm pretty stubborn about this kind of stuff, and when I finally got to the point where I'm like, I think I might need some. I got one of those the finger sensors and checked it, which are
pulse ox,
not perfect, but they're good. It's better than your wristwatch.
Yep.
And so, anyways, like in the mid 80s, and I did a teledoc because all the doctors' offices were just ridiculously packed, and I told them all the numbers, and they were like, "Yeah, you should have called. You should have gotten on this." Like, so they gave me like the steroid, the antibiotics, everything they could just to help prevent or help take care of any infection, bacterial infection that might be there. Because I was pretty sure it had gotten into the lungs. It's definitely bronchitis of some kind, maybe turning into a pneumonia. So, I just don't risk it. Because if it's in the lungs, if you're having a hard time, if you could feel it when you're breathing, that's just not.
Yeah, that's usually like when I feel it in my lungs, that's usually when I go and say, all right, I need to get a doctor's appointment. I need some help. Because one thing you want to do is you don't want to like prolong any kind of lung inflammation or lung damage that you can occur from this, like, or get like pneumonia or something like that. So you definitely want to like take care of that. But again, when it's just nasal stuff and sinus stuff, I'm usually kind of like, I'll just kind of suffer through it. Going. And then again, everything's reduced, and you just kind of like suffer through. And I just kind of like, do all the things like you do, like take all the the witchcraft and the all that stuff.
There was a study that
spicy
said,
food, anything. If there was any study that said, if you eat,
if it said I could go out and eat lawn clippings from the summer, I would do it. I don't really care. Brew a tea out of it. Whatever you have to do, I don't care.
Whatever you have to do to get over it. But when it goes to the lungs, that's when I usually call in the big guns for sure.
Yeah. So I broke down the other day. I got a hold of a doctor, and again, I'm a fan. So I work in healthcare, and I try not to overwhelm the system that's out there. I try to, like, stuff like this. I try to do like a teledoc, because usually they're able to turn patients in and out a lot faster, so it gives them a chance to see people that really need it. if something like me, I'm just got a sinus infection. Like I just need, give me an antibiotic. I'm good.
Yeah.
I got to get these like once every 3 or 4 years if I'm, if that. So yeah, so it's been frustrating because I wasn't sure what it was. And then now today, after having some antibiotics in me, I'm like, all right, things are starting to clear now. Voice isn't quite back yet, but it's okay.
It's coming. So. Yeah. And then the other, sometimes when you get like the Whoop strap or even some of the Garmin's now, they give you that body battery. So if you're like paying attention to it, like sometimes you can see you're getting sick before you actually get sick, and then kind of, and that's always good. Like just, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure for sure. So if you start to see that you're if you're watching those metrics, especially in this time of year when like sickness is going around, like those are some of the metrics that I kind of pay attention to is kind of like, what's my resting heart rate? Is it coming up or coming down? Like after hard workouts and stuff, like chances are your body's feeling the symptoms before you actually feel the symptoms. Yeah. So you bring up a good point. I track resting heart rate very close. That's on one of the first things I look at. So here's the thing. Okay. All these devices, they give you all these numbers and metrics, and people get overwhelmed. There's two types of people, I think. There's the type of person that digs into it, really tries to understand it. And 99% of the time, at some point in that process, they've gone way overboard and they pay way too much attention to the numbers, and they sort of let it dictate their life. And I'm guilty of that too. Yeah. Then there's the other part where it's like, there are so many numbers. I bought the device because I want to count my activity. I don't really know what all this stuff is, and I don't really care to know. It's getting in the way. I'm just going to do my thing and let it just do what it does. So I think it's really important. If there's any metrics you're going to watch, there are two that I would recommend you watch. One is your resting heart rate. That, to me, that's one of the absolute best things you can watch for a lot of, day in and day out. First thing every morning, I check resting heart rate. The second thing is your HRV. And I used to get fixated on what the HRV was, even though I know it's individual. You can't really compare HRVs. It's not a relative thing. You're just looking for the trend. And so I would look at my resting heart rate, HRV every single morning. First thing I look at, especially now, like this is the time that you're kind of want to look at it, because again, those metrics will show something before you actually feel something. And that's what you kind of want to do, because if you can preemptively start resting and getting, taking the zinc and doing all the things before you actually get sick, chances are you won't get sick. And so you can kind of get ahead of it. But if you're someone like me my watch does not do any of that, I have to go off of feeling. I'm more of a feeling guy. I'm old school. So
that's funny you say that, because and even with this round of illness, so there's a couple of things about the metrics I just mentioned. One of the tough things about it is, first of all, those two metrics are like gold standard in my book for telling you early indicators if you're about to get sick, even if you don't feel it yet. Except if you, for whatever reason, if you're not sleeping well or you have not been consistently sleeping. Two problems with that. One is inconsistent sleep will help you get sick faster. And two is inconsistent sleep will also throw those metrics off dramatically. And so my situation was, I had gotten some inconsistent sleep leading up to all of this, because we've been dealing with puppies in the house. And so in this case, we kept one of the puppies, by the way. He's awesome. His name's Tank. But Tank needed to get out at night, because he's got a little bladder, he needs out of that crate. So I was getting up a couple of times, and so my sleep was disrupted because of that, and my metrics were thrown off because of that. And so I was watching it, but then I was like, man, my HRV is really kind of going wild here. And my resting heart rate kind of elevated a little bit. It's probably because I've been getting up and haven't been sleeping real well. And then it was like that Tuesday or Wednesday when I started really feeling, I'm like, son of a,
and then it just happens. It just happens.
So you really got to watch all of those metrics. But I would definitely, those are two things that I always track it. Even if I'm not worried about getting sick. To me, that's also, we can get into the whole thing about how those two metrics can help tell you, are you overtraining? Are you undertraining? Is your fitness stabilizing? Like, you can tell so much from those two.
Yep,
those
just
two
the trends.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I did have the Whoop for a long time. I was not a big fan of it telling me.
You wearing that,
telling me the readiness score. You know, in the morning, like, oh, you're ready to train,
or
you're not ready to train.
See, all the YouTubers, they freaking swear by that thing. How many guys were sporting the band and like discount code this and all that kind of stuff.
My thing is from my own observation is that I would have really, really like kind of breakthrough workouts on days that it said that I shouldn't work out. And then I would not really feel good on days that it said I was supposed to feel good.
It's kind of like Garmin sometimes when it's like unproductive and you're like, but that was the most productive
that
I've
was
ever
so
had.
productive. Yeah. So it's them using an algorithm to try to figure your training and all that stuff out. And again, you have to be like kind of diligent with this kind of stuff, is just that you're paying attention to the numbers and the trend and not really what the device is telling you to do.
Yeah. That's why you mentioned I can't talk. You mentioned body battery. Then I think that's Garmin's metric or whatever they have. and I don't mind it so much. I kind of take it with a grain of salt. There are times, and this is the thing with like sleep scores and all of that. Like I've had nights or mornings where the sleep score is like 93. You slept optimal stages, and I feel like garbage when I wake up. I feel like a dump truck ran over me all night. And then there's other times where it's like you didn't, non-restorative sleep, and I'm like, that was the best night of sleep I've ever had.
Exactly.
Like, it's unreal. And again, I go back to resting heart rate and HRV, and a lot of times when I feel one way, feel different than the way that the sleep score or body battery looks, the way I feel kind of matches up more with like how the resting heart rate and HRV is. And so that's why I pay more attention to those. I don't know what else they use. I don't know what else the metric or the algorithm has in it that calculates these things. So I just don't, when you don't know what it is, I just kind of like, well, I don't know what influences it. So how do I know how accurate this thing is?
Yeah. And then sometimes too, like how tight you have your watch on and how, or the band on, all those kind of stuff. Like it can mess with the numbers. So again, just what we're saying is just, follow the numbers and the trend, not so much like what it's telling you to do with those numbers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so you get that, and if you get some early warning, hopefully you can catch it, knock it out, and not miss any time. But now in this situation, we both missed roughly a week and a half.
Yep.
And in my case, this is really poor timing because now this weekend I've got to go out of town, and I'll be on a work trip through Tuesday of next week, and it's like, so basically I've had illness for a week and a half, plus I'm going to miss a couple of days because of other things, which I'd already planned for, by the way. I already moved my training around. So now I'm missing all that. So I'm going to be almost 2 full weeks. I've got a couple of rides in because I started feeling better and I did some base rides. And they were okay. Like heart rate and everything was good. So I do have a couple of rides in, but for all intents and purposes, let's just say we both missed 2 full weeks of our training. So now what do you do?
Yeah. So luckily for us, for me at least, it's all base for me. So it's more about just getting in the time.
Get back in the saddle.
Yeah, getting back in the saddle, just getting the reps in, just kind of doing all the things of just establishing consistency. It's not really like, it wasn't like me, like for you, where you missed a week of testing, right? So that is a different scenario, right? Like for most people, like, especially, I think this comes up the most is like, do you just go back to whatever the training plan says, or do you have to shift stuff around? And so my feeling is if you've kind of missed 2 weeks, and you, depending on what the next cycle of training is. So for Danny, he needs to do that test week. So he's probably not going to do it next week while he's out of town. He can't. So I would say shifting that testing week to 2 weeks. And so then that kind of throws off. Wow. So then it'll be 2 weeks he'll have a week of testing and then a week of riding, and then he'll have a recovery, and then he'll have probably another week of testing.
Well, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Because I've already kind of mapped it out. Because I was like, well, shoot, what am I going to do? And I think that's exactly right, though. It's like the point here is like, so when I look back, I missed I missed 4 days during week 1, miss 4 days, and then I'm going to miss 5 days in week 2. So 9 out of 14 days I've missed. Normally I have 2 rest days in a week, so I've basically got 7 missed workout days, right?
Yep.
If I did the math right. So the way I kind of did it this week, because I did do a couple of my rides, rather than doing the fitness test, I'm like, I'm not doing that. So what I did was I took the week before my rest week. So whatever I was doing that week before the rest week, I basically just moved that down into my schedule.
Yeah.
If it was more than an hour, I just cut it at an hour, because I'm like, you know what? It's not going to do me any good to be out here for an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I did do a base endurance ride, and then I did a tempo, 35, 40 minutes of tempo, and then finished out with some endurance and cool down. And that's all I've done this week.
Yeah.
And that's probably all I'm going to do this week, unfortunately. Next week, though, because I'm still in the base block, I've got like Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be sweet spot interval. So I got like 15 minutes of sweet spot, a couple intervals of that, and then some big gear intervals on that Wednesday. So what I'm likely to do, so now the ideal was I really want to get that test week.
Yeah.
Because I know the first 4 weeks have produced some kind of gain for me. Because you can feel it.
Yeah.
You know? But now I've been out for 2 weeks. So it's like kind of one of those like, well.
Right.
So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the sweet spot and the big gear. I'm going to move that late next week. And I'm going to bring my endurance rides from the same week and move them to the front of the week.
Okay.
So basically give myself like 3 or 4 days of good endurance riding and maybe a little bit of tempo. See how everything feels. Make sure so the good thing this is why consistent training is so important. You kind of get a sense of like where your heart rate is for the type of workout that it is. Like what's your average heart rate for the interval? What's your average heart rate for the whole workout? And this is why, if you don't care about this stuff, this is why you want to have a coach.
Yep, exactly.
So like,
you don't want to look at these numbers. This is all I look at.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's really good to know what, like, hey, normally my heart rate for a tempo effort is probably going to be around 150, somewhere in that range. If I go do that tempo effort next Tuesday or Wednesday when I get back in town, and my heart rate's all of a sudden like closer to 160 or 158, 157 for that same intensity, then I'm not ready to take on intensity yet. I need to let some of this kind of settle down a little bit and just stick with that endurance and just kind of rebuild, let the endurance come back. And I think I read I think it was, might have been the Cycling Bible, right? Where it talks about illness and you take, it was 2 days of base for every 1 day you miss.
Yep.
And that's kind of the golden rule, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like if you missed a week, you should probably take 2 weeks of base.
Yep.
Now, the good thing is I think my fitness has already kind of trended up in the right direction. So I think the key here is just don't jump into intensity too fast. Since we're in the base phase, the intensity is really not going to do anything for you right now.
Right.
Stick like that's why I stick with the tempo and less in my book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, when do you, so like for me and what I tell my athletes is they're always jumping to try to get back as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And so for me, I usually like when they tell me, all right, I'm ready to get back at it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to wait a day.
That's a good idea.
Because a lot of times you feel better. And just because you feel better, you're not quite over the sickness. And so maybe you're just having a really good day.
Yeah.
And so I usually like to wait that extra day just to make sure that they have 2 kind of really good days in a row.
Yeah.
And then get back into training. Because again, like if you jump into training too soon and you just kind of like, muscle through a lot of stuff, there's a chance that you just kind of bring on a second illness or round 2 of the illness. And you just, then you're, instead of being out like for Danny's, case, 2 weeks, you're out for a month. Yeah. And then you're just like, oh, now I have to do 2 months basically of base to get back of it. And if you're looking at that, it's like January, February, you start pushing into when you actually wanted to start building. Exactly. So definitely now you want to just, it's more beneficial now to make sure that you're taking care of the sickness than prolonging it, and then you're just ending up kind of playing from behind, and then you get kind of stressed, and then even then it just gets worse.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think if you look at because of the time you started to mention like I'd move my fitness test around. If this were mid-year or early spring, 100% agree with exactly where you're at, because it's so much more. I think it's really important to understand that you have the zone set right. if you took a negative fitness loss because of the illness, you want to catch that in your fitness test. But you got to be ready for that fitness test. You got to make sure, like you said, you're past the illness and be fully recovered. So it definitely take a good full week of just endurance rides just to get the legs going, and then do that fitness test. But because we're in base, and it's early base at that, we're still in, for me, I'm still in base 1, moving into base 2. I feel like the fitness has been, it's a slow, steady grind of fitness gain until spring, right? Until I get into that build, and then the build's going to ramp it up. But because it's been kind of a slow, steady grind, I'm not fearful of losing so much because I'm not tapping into that top end. So I feel like as long as next week I come back, now if I come back next week and I'm not fully over it, or something happens, I start missing a ride or two, or I get into one of these interval rides of sweet spot or a tempo and things don't feel right. Yeah, it's going to be time to come back the next week with a fitness test, reassess where everything's at, and then just accept the results and move forward. Because that's all you can really do.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Just know that, like you said too, getting sick, it's not the end of the world.
It's not.
Especially now, early on. Again, if it was in the middle of, like, let's say March, April timeframe, there would be a little bit more of a panic in the whole situation, because that's right in the middle of like some serious training and the build and
prime
all that
cut
stuff.
Workouts.
And so if you get sick during then, chances are you're going to have to reevaluate your race goals if the race is early season, or especially for us, looking at Unbound and stuff. That would be more of, hey, I got sick late season. Now I have to reevaluate what the race goal is. But since we're starting off so early, you can kind of get sick, recover, and still have a very productive, early season and stuff. So you just, again, getting sick is never fun. It's not one of the best things to do. But again, if you can pay attention and mitigate it before it actually happens, you're going to be better off. And then if you do get sick, just take the time to just make sure you're fully recovered before you start jumping back in, and it'll be better in the long run for sure.
As we're both coughing.
Yeah, we both cough.
So I think that's true. And I'm looking right now at my training peaks, and just the effect of these couple of weeks, like my CTL, right, my fitness score is like on this nice steady, and then it goes, and it's like, there's the instinct of people like, oh, well, is there a way to make up for that?
No,
there's not a way to make up for that. No, you just accept what it is. And guess what? Losing 6 or 7 points of your fitness score, again, this is why I don't get wrapped around the axle on the metrics. Losing 6 or 7 points on, this time of the year, not a big deal.
Yeah, you'll make that up. Like, it's better to go into the build block of any training plan, like, with the most amount of base that you can muster.
Yep.
And that's going to reap the benefits, because the base is just, again, it's just kind of that setting the fitness, kind of getting an idea of where you're at. And then when you start to build and you're really putting in the work, you can absorb that and grow more if you're coming into it, sickness free at least.
And I think too, people are really that worried about, oh my gosh, I've lost time. I've lost, I'm losing fitness, whatever the fears are. If you're really that worried about it, give yourself, 2 to 3 weeks to just get fully past it, reestablish, wherever you're at right now. And then if you really feel like you need to do something, again, time is on your side right now.
Yeah, you can gain if the goal of your base was to start, extending a certain score or a certain TSS or any of that stuff. You can start kind of adding 10, 15 minutes onto the end of your long rides or to some of your workouts. Yeah. And you can start closing that distance.
That's the beauty of base. Like, you can almost always add a reasonable amount of base to whatever plan you're doing.
Yep.
And that kind of goes the other way too. Like, if you're a time constrained athlete, you can, if you're like, oh, I'm a time constrained athlete and, my plan is like a 12-hour week plan and it's 4 hours of a long ride on a Sunday. I just don't have time for that. Well, if you just cut it maybe 30 minutes, but you do that consistently, then your plan is still effective, right?
Yep.
So it goes both ways. Like, and in this case, we're saying, well, I want to kind of make up for lost time. We'll just tack an extra 20, 30 minutes at the end of your long ride. The good news is your body can eat that up pretty easily. It's not high stress.
Yep.
You'll recover from that nicely. You'll continue to build your base foundation. And again, because we're still 3 months out from our build phase starting, you can do that over the course of, 12 weeks. And
right. And that's the thing. You're not going to make up the 2 weeks that you missed in a week.
No.
You can't do that. And the tendency for most athletes is to make that all up at once.
Yep.
The idea is that you're going to make up for those 2 weeks over like 2 to 3 months.
Exactly.
And so you're just going to be adding just a little extra here and there to your plan. If that's what you want to do. So for some of us, for me, most of the time, if I miss 2 weeks, the only thing that really suffers for me is the high end stuff.
Right.
And so I'm not really working on high end right now anyways.
That's right.
It can suffer all at once. Like I've been doing, this for many years. My base fitness is very, very, very big.
Right.
And so
solid.
It's very solid. So I just need to just kind of get back in the groove and start doing what I was doing. And then as I feel better and I get better, I'll add more time so I can stretch out the base time wise, so that when I start doing the build has specific time requirements per week.
Yeah. So again, the whole point here is don't get wrapped around the axle on this stuff. Just kind of roll with it and, make the adjustments that are necessary. You're not going to make up 2 weeks in 2 days. It's just not going to happen. So. Yeah.
And then the other big thing that I would say is like, if you're following a training plan, the pitfall that most people do is they let's say they're missing week 8.
Yeah.
And they're like, they were sick on week 8. So then they're going to go in straight into week 9.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, sorry.
So,
week 9's not going to be there anymore. It's going to have to be either a repeating of week 8 where you got sick, or it's going to have to be earlier, like
even week 7 or 6.
And then so now you're pushing stuff back of 2 weeks or so.
And I think what's really important there, again, that's my default, is just redo the week the week before what you lost, and just redo that. If that goes well, then you're good. If for some reason you struggle, and this is important, especially when you're in a build phase, the base phase, it's not as important, but the build phase, like, go back to that prior week. If things go well, then now you're going to jump to now you're a week behind, right? And again, there's no making that up, but it's just make the adjustment. And then whenever that block is finished and you do your retest, or you do, you move on to a specialty phase or whatever, that's where you kind of get the reset. And so I think, because the beauty of it is, that's why I like doing the testing every 4 weeks, like an actual test every 4 weeks and not just the AI test, because now whatever I do that's my number, right? Like, that's either my FTP, my 5-minute power, whatever those things are that you're using to measure. And now when I go into the next block, I've reset all my zones around whatever my capability is. So whatever I lost in that block before is just distant memory. It's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. Now I'm on a specialty block, or I'm on build number 2, and move forward.
I just, again, like, and for me as a coach, when I see sicknesses like this, I usually have my athletes kind of do like a kind of like coming back to fitness type thing. So like if it's a 1 or 2 day cold or whatever, then we usually just kind of like pick up where we left off. Whatever workouts were on those days that you were sick, they're gone forever. If it's been like a week or more, or like 3 or 4, like 4 days or more, I kind of start them off with some easy stuff. Maybe we do a little bit of some intensity towards the end, just to kind of see where everything's kind of, if it's fallen, if we're still kind of struggling because I'm not going to say that athletes lie, but sometimes athletes lie. And so like,
oh no, coach, everything was great. I felt
so great. And
I really like doing anaerobic workouts.
And
those
so
30-30s.
So you kind of try to like get them, my job is to kind of meet them where they're at, not like tell them where they're, put them in a situation where they're going to continue the sickness. So I do a lot of, especially those 3 or 4 days when we start coming back, we do a lot of testing sets of just, like, how does your heart rate look at this power? How does your, what does your run look, what does your, heart rate look at this pace, or, swimming and that kind of stuff, and see kind of how well you've gotten over the sickness, and then how much you've kind of lost during that sickness. And then we can kind of, and then from that I can start, tailoring, the workouts and stuff to fit them. So,
yeah. So, well, hopefully we don't get too many setbacks. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, the good news is this was a setback due to, just time of year and all of that. Not a training setback, which is a whole other ball of wax.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I mean by that is like you overtrained, or you did something like that, or had an injury.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just part of it goes with the territory. It's what we get for living in the Midwest. So.
Yep. Yeah, and again, just take everything, just kind of relax with it, and just again, this is the base season. Unless you have some kind of race that's in early April, then you would have been, or February, you would have been kind of in a build phase now. So if we were doing Mesa Marathon, then we would be right in the build of it. So
as we were talking here, that's why I was kind of looking at kind of just comparing like where I'm at in my training peaks fitness and fatigue now versus a year ago when we were getting ready for the half marathon.
Yeah.
And it's like my fitness level, I'm just a tick below where I was a year ago. And it's like, for me, I always want to be just a tick above, not a tick below. So like, and now here I am going into like a 3 or 4 days where I'm not going to be able to do much of anything. And it just kind of eats at me still, even though all this stuff I'm saying, it still eats at me. But what's interesting though is, and why I'm not too worried about it is, if I looked at a year ago, and I did this because this is the perfect time of year when everybody's looking at their Strava and they're looking at the year in review.
Oh, you get your
Spotify
playlist
all
review
that
and all that stuff.
Gosh,
Yeah,
like, come on, guys, it's not even middle of December yet. So, but what's interesting is we were so focused on the half marathon last year with running. I didn't really start writing until like almost the end of January last year. And now it bothered. Now I had to pay for it because it took me until probably late March, early April to really get my legs around, or where I actually felt like I had legs again. But the fact that getting any riding right now feels like a bonus compared to last year. So it's not going to take very long to pass the fitness level from where I was a year ago. Once the bike starts picking up a little bit more.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah. So don't just like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It's going to be fine. So.
Yep. All right.
You want to do a quick little rapid fire?
Yeah, let's see.
All right. So this is just some
see what ChatGPT got for us.
So after being sick, your comeback after being sick, is it a rebound or are you roadkill?
Usually it's a rebound.
Yeah. I usually find that I want to get back at the train. I don't if I feel like roadkill, I'm not going to ride. Like that means I'm still sick, right?
Yeah.
So
I usually like for me, like taking a couple of days off of not doing anything, I'm so active all the time. I feel lost. Like I'm kind of wandering the house, like just not really doing anything. It's not good for everybody involved. Like
the kids are like, why are you up here and not on your bike?
Why aren't you doing something? I'm like, I just don't feel good. So so I usually and I do take the time, like, especially when you get sick like this, it's always a good time to like, compare what you did last year, look at, start planning for like kind of the race that you're going to target. You start making, are you going to make any nutritional changes? Are you going to make any gear changes? Like this is the time when you're just laid up on the couch, you might as well just start, watching videos and, selecting your tires already and getting all that stuff figured out.
See, I go the other way. Man, it's dangerous when I get sick because then it's like now all of a sudden I have time for like the other hobbies.
Oh man, yeah.
So like my YouTube playlist right now is not a lot of cycling and stuff. It's like camping and overlanding stuff and off-road stuff. That's and then I've been getting a lot of playlist stuff around gold mining in Colorado. In California. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Gonna see Danny panning for gold.
I know, right? And he'd buy me a gold mine.
Yeah.
All right. Training restart style: smooth or suffering?
Usually it's smooth, and then it starts to suffer.
Yeah. I ease back into it again. I'm not a fan of like, oh, let me go wreck myself after I've been wrecked for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like to make sure that I'm fully over it, and then once I am, like, then I start just adding a little extra here and there, and just see if I can absorb it. Yeah.
All right, last one. What's your comeback confidence? Certain or clueless?
Comeback confidence? I would say it's clueless, because I just don't know. Again, like, you don't know how long the sickness is going to be with you. So like I think last year I had that really bad, like, I think I had pneumonia, and it was just
you had something that was around for like 6 weeks.
It was there for a long
We remember going
time.
On runs, and you were hacking.
I would feel good, and then I would like wait a day, and then I'd feel good again, and then I'd go and do like a run or something, and then I would be back in just on the couch for the rest of the week, and then I would feel good towards the weekend, and then we'd go out and do an easy run, and I'd be back on the couch.
I remember it because it was the best time when we were doing intervals, and I'd be like, all right, well, Travis is suffering. It's time to put the screws to him.
Put the screws to me. It was horrible. It was the worst. So, I'm never quite sure, again, when I come back, how I'm going to feel. It just, with age and experience and all that stuff, it's kind of one of those things that I would say clueless, because I'm not confident about my comeback.
My issue, I'm usually pretty certain. Like, I feel, once I'm over it, like, I know I'm over it. And, I try to ease back into it. But my problem is my lack of patience. I'm not patient enough to, and this is why me having a plan and like modifying the plan when I'm not thinking about training. Like, so even when I'm like, just build the plan out, build in that recovery time. Yep. When I say like the endurance to kind of build back up, because otherwise, if it's left up to me, I'll just go right back into it.
Oh yeah,
that's my problem. I'm just not patient. I want to get right back into it.
So many times I've done the pitfall of just instead of I got sick on week 7, I'm just going to start week 8. I'm strong enough, and then it's not a good idea. So I'm telling you, we're telling you all these pitfalls because we've made them. Yeah, we've made them. Yeah. So hopefully you learn from us and don't do it. So.
All right. Very good.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, this was a short one. Again, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for commenting. And
don't forget the discount code.
We got a discount code for Open Range. Yeah. So
just a few more weeks.
It's only till the December 31st. So like, you guys got to get it in, and then it's not going to work anymore. So
I want everybody to get it.
Yeah, I want you all to get it. So just comment, and I'm going to respond back. I already saw somebody commented on the video released earlier this week. Yeah. So. But good job, guys. And thanks everybody who listens, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.